Hi, I'm Steve Brand. I've been playing music or playing guitar since I was the age of 13. I've been performing live music since I was in high school. There was also a time when I wanted to try to make it big, and I almost did. My band in the late 90s got noticed by a prominent concert promoter here in Oklahoma, and ultimately became our management. They got us to open up for several major acts and got us showcases in front of record labels. We ultimately signed a development deal with Sony Records and started recording an album of new original material. Unfortunately, in the end, drug use from one of our band members ruined the deal for us. But the good thing was, from that experience, I learned a lot about how the music industry works. My point of telling you about this story is that you have a little bit of background of myself and to know that I've been within the music industry for a good number of years. With that, I come to the reason for my speech. Seeing what the music industry has become from what it was even in the late 90s, music is now being consumed in a much different way than it was then in the United States. Full albums are no longer purchased like they once were. People buy just one particular song at a time, which in the end ultimately has changed how an artist makes a living by professionally playing music. The purpose of my speech is to give you information of how album sales has changed how artists make a living playing music. So first, I would like to talk about how the state of music industry, or how the state of the music industry was in the 90s. Full album sales were much higher in the 90s before internet streaming, MP3s, and of course Napster. If you don't know what Napster was, it was a peer-to-peer sharing service where people could share MP3s or music with other people for free. The large source of album sales came from people buying music in the form of CDs. Now, an artist still didn't make a huge amount of money from the sale of a CD because the record label, the distributor of the CDs, and the retailer, person selling the CDs, took a cut. So the artist depended on the need to sell a lot of CDs to make good money. According to an article by Felix Richter on Statista.com, CD sales by the end of the 90s was up to 943 million. By 2016, CD sales had dropped to 99 million. So, if an artist or band sold a million copies and they got $1 per copy, they would have made $1,000,000. Let's look at this. If there were 10 songs on an album, an artist made $1 on that album sale, they would get 10 cents per song. According to Ed Newton on Medium.com, it would take 109 Spotify streams to equal one track purchase today. Now, I'd like to take a quick look at album sales today. According to Statista.com, in 2011, 331 million CDs, cassettes, records, and digital albums combined were sold in the United States. This figure fell just under 169 million in 2017. That statistic is for all album sales over all types of media in the United States alone. So if you think about how many artists are out there, really only the upper echelon artists are able to sell full albums, if they're lucky. For example, Billboard.com says the best-selling album of 2017 was Taylor Swift's Reputation, with 1,903,000 in sales. You can still make a good living selling albums, but like I said before, if an artist only got $1 per album, then Taylor Swift would have made $1,903,000. That's not terrible, but compared to what it used to be, it's quite a difference. And there really are not that many artists that can bolster that much in full album sales anymore. Americans are more and more consuming music through internet streaming. TechCrunch.com says in total, on-demand audio streams surpassed 400 billion streams in 2017, compared to 252 billion in just 2016, and overall on-demand streams of an industry growth of 12.5% in total volume over 2016. So I've talked a little bit about how the state of the music industry was in the 90s and what it is today. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about where artists are now getting their revenue from. With full album sales declining at an increasing rate each year, artists have had to evolve and look for new ways to make a living. One way artists are making a living is through touring. Now, bands did touring before, but now it's become kind of the primary source of an artist or band making a living through playing music. A lot of artists are doing longer and longer tours, which add up to more and more shows to play. One big example of this is the heavy metal band Metallica. Their latest album, Hardwired to Self Destruct, was released in 2016. As soon as the album was released, they went on tour. Here we are, 2018, almost 2019, and they're still touring. They started out with stadium tours, selling out every show, and now they're doing smaller arena shows and selling out all those as well. They have seen that much of their money, or they've seen how much of their money can be made by touring, so they just keep continuing to play live. According to UltimateClassicRock.com, Metallica made 152.8 million dollars with 49 shows in 2017 alone. TorrentFreak.com states that only 6% of the average musician's income comes from recorded sales today. The revenue from live performances is significantly larger, with 28%. Now, there's still other things, other revenue streams, being merchandise, like, say, t-shirt sales, those kind of things, that artists make a living from. But touring is, right now, still probably the top reason or top way artists make their living. I remember seeing Van Halen in 1991, and the ticket was only $25 for floor seats. I recently saw Foo Fighters play, and it cost me $250 each for mediocre seats and $500 each for fifth row seats to see Tool. So one of the drawbacks for us, the concert goer, is that ticket sales have gone up because artists are using live shows as their primary source of income. So I've talked briefly about how album sales have changed how artists make a living playing music. I talked about what the state of album sales were in the 90s, what album sales are currently, and how artists are generating income through touring. If some of your favorite artists come out with new albums, support them. Buy the full album on whatever media you buy it. MP3s, records, if you still buy CDs, buy the whole thing. Support them. They're out there, they make a whole catalog of music. There's usually generally 10 tracks on an album. And, don't just buy the one track. Buy the whole album. Support them. And, I know firsthand that there's nothing more incredible than someone listening to music I recreated and then coming to my shows and singing along word for word. It's so awesome. Anyway, thank you. Take care.